Meeting. All right. Hello, everyone. We are back, still in Arizona. And Shannon, you want to tell us
And I'm
about your heat wave?
Yeah, no, I'm still in the Northeast, but I'm at my parents' house, so it's not New Jersey. But the air conditioning isn't working very well, and we're in the midst of a heat wave. So I may be a little irritable today because I didn't realize that the AC wasn't working according to plan. So I'm outside because outside feels cooler than in that hot box that my parents are living in right now. So bear with me. We're still gonna touch on all the things that are of importance and relevance to anybody who's listening. So, but with a dash of irritability. Okay.
Love it. And also, some folks might step out and
Right. Because they
interrupt.
don't really, yes, they don't necessarily pay attention or follow any of my instructions because why would it's like a theme. It's like my kids and my parents. They're like, so whatever she says. So, but guess what? My clients listen, and that's really what's important, I guess. So you got to get it somewhere, right? You got to get the validation somewhere. So there we go. All right. So what are we talking about today?
So we're talking about what is stopping you from getting what you want. Do you want to start sharing? Because you talked about how your clients listen to you. What's stopping them from getting what they want?
You want to go first, or you want me to go first?
You can go first in case something may happen to
In
you.
case they're one of those interruptions.
Yeah.
And I also want to point out this street, which like the whole neighborhood pretty much is a lot of older people, and it's usually dead quiet. The minute I decide to come out, every truck in the nation is going by, every bus, everything, and it's like a suburban quiet street. But today, again, so you're hearing a little bit of the irritability. Anyway, I want to talk about what a lot of my clients want and what's stopping them from getting it. So I think the last time we talked about what they want. Now, ultimately, most of the folks who come to me, they want more time. They want more time to do the things that they want to do, right? Like people have hobbies, people have interests, and sometimes your work isn't aligned with those interests, but you are a responsible adult. You have to work, you have to eat, you have to clothe yourself, you got to house yourself and your family, and so you need to work. But after giving all of that time to your employer or your business or what have you, you still may have outside interests, and over time people are like, you know what, I'd like to spend more of my time doing those things with the people I love. Now, you may like working with your colleagues, but you didn't choose these folks. Um,
Yeah.
Sometimes you can't stand these folks, but they're folks that you invite into your life, or family members or friends that you invite into your life that you want to spend time with. So most of the time, the folks that I work with want more time to do the things they love.
Hmm.
And the notion is, oh, well, you get to do those things when you retire. You get to do those things at 65. And by the way, the government's trying to push back that retirement age to 67, 70. And there's some people who, have to work until 70, but not
Hmm.
by choice, right? Not by
Right.
choice. So
Right.
there's this notion that you're not going to be able to do all of those great things until you retire.
Right.
Now, I don't believe that you should wait until 65, 67, 70 to do all those great things for a plethora of reasons. Like life isn't about waiting until you're 65 to do the things you really enjoy full time and then potentially being ill at 65, having other responsibilities at 65, maybe not even having the money to do these things at 65, or dropping dead within 10 years, or not being
Right.
mobile or have the cognitive abilities, whatever the case may be. So
Right.
I am strongly opposed to waiting
Mm,
waiting until you're 65. Now, the obstacle then that most people say to me is like, okay, that's all well and good, but if you're saying do this at 50 or 40 or whatever, how do I go about doing that?
right.
And I think there are two things that are stopping most people from achieving this goal of retiring early.
Yeah.
One is the lack of belief, the lack of total belief. They haven't seen this happen. Like they don't actually know anybody who's checked out of the workforce earlier than 65. And if they do, they've had some special circumstance. Special meaning, oh, there's some inheritance from a grandparent or a parent or something like that, which enabled them to alter their lifestyle, right?
Right.
And to work less or stop working because they got this huge windfall of money. So the one thing is most people don't even believe it's possible. The second thing is, even if they think that, oh, I've been hearing a little bit about this, maybe I can do this, they don't know how. Like they don't have a plan, a strategy, a formula. They just don't even get how you can do this. And
Right.
so what I do with my clients, because everybody's different, obviously, is figure out, depending on when they come to me, like one of the first questions I ask is like, hey, when do you want to stop working? The funny thing is most people say, oh, never, because they don't think they can. Not because they don't want to. A lot of these people hate their jobs. I don't know who they're trying to kid, right? Yeah, they're the people who love their jobs, but a lot of people hate their jobs. They tell themselves, oh, yeah, I keep doing this. I'd be like, and I'm like, get the hell out of here. If I dropped $1 million on you tomorrow, would you go back in? Most of them say no. So knock it off. Be honest with yourselves. So when I ask them, okay, when would you like to stop working? They give me one number. And then I say, when do you think you'll stop working? They give me something 20, 30 years, sometimes 10 years, depending on how old they are down the road. But it's always hovering around 65 because that's what they've been taught.
Mm,
So I think it's really important to, first of all, get people to the stage where it's like, this actually happens. Like there are people who retire at 40, even before some of them, but 40, 45, 50.
I
And
love how you're like whispering,
oh, always
like,
whispering.
like, P.S. There's people who are doing
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, because they're the unicorns, right? And they convince themselves that they have these extenuating circumstances that allows them to check out of the workforce earlier. And
Mm,
no, what these folks have, a lot of them, is a plan and a strategy. And they understand that, yeah, if I focus on what to do with my money for 10 years, some 15 years, and I build that nest egg and I invest that money, then yeah, I can get out of this workforce a lot sooner than the average Joe. Now, nobody's going to come to you and say, yeah, we want you to retire at 65. In fact, they're trying to promote that people want to work until they're 70. Stop that bullshit. Nobody wants to be a Walmart greeter. Sorry, at 70. No one, no. Find me that person who's raising their hand at 70 years old with their knees, standing in front of Walmart saying, have a nice day. Can I take your receipt? If you're working at 70, that's not exactly what you want to do. I'm sure there are a lot of other things people would prefer. So, but this is the narrative that they're pushing.
mm,
I really think that the obstacle is one, the belief. You need to see it. You need to see folks who aren't, getting a trust fund or an inheritance or something like that. Like the regular folks that work their 9 to 5, and they need to have a plan of action, because if you're not intentional, the money disappears. You don't invest it. You don't figure out how much you actually need to live off of.
mhm.
And then you just keep going with the rest of the sheep, right? Down the path to 65, 67, 70. And
Right.
so I think that even acknowledging or seeing that it's possible is the number one step. It's the
Mm,
number one step. Now, of course, there are people like me who are like, I didn't hate my job, but I was like, I would be good and goddamned if you caught me in there until 65, like an asshole. I'm not doing it. I wasn't doing it. I had no intention of doing it.
right.
What I didn't know as early as I would have liked to have known is how to ensure that I could have gotten out even sooner. Right? Like, yeah,
Oh,
retiring in your 40s is great, right? In your
mhm.
40s, it's excellent. But there's a way to get out even sooner. And I think that's definitely something that I'll impart upon my children. So they understand that the formula I followed is not for them. Like that's not going to work for them. Times have changed, economies changed. That's not it. But you can still get out of the rat race if you're in the rat race and really focus on the things that you love to do before you become ill or you have other responsibilities
Mhm.
or you die. We don't know how long we're going to be here. So I think it's important to really enjoy as much time as you can now. But if you do stick around long enough, that you have money to continue to enjoy time, because there's the folks that are like blowing all their money in their 30s. And it's like, but what if you live to 70? You know what I mean? You got to have something then too, right? So it's that balance. It's really about that balance.
Totally. I love that. I mean, and I think I love the piece about like you could have even gotten out sooner. Like I think that that's really crazy. And I
Yeah,
mean, this in the best way, right? And now
exactly. Exactly.
reflecting upon it, what you learned from what you didn't know, you're now giving to your clients to help
100%.
propel them forward into, you know, I love this work of coaching, right? Because it's like what you thought you needed or what you thought you wanted or what you thought could be possible for you is here, but really, it could be out there, like even beyond. And that's really cool, because you're really living and breathing and knowing and acknowledging and modeling, right? That, yeah, your clients may not have seen that maybe in their circles, but they're seeing that in you, right? So I think that is so important to acknowledge that and to like name that. So yeah, very cool. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. And yeah, I want to demonstrate that. I'm going to be interrupted. So I want you to talk and share what your clients are experiencing and what their obstacles are.
Okay, sure. So, I think it's very similar, which is interesting because I was just having this conversation with another friend of mine and talking about our YouTube lives and how there's just so many similarities with our work and so much of it has to do with mindset. So, what I'm slowly learning and unlearning, I guess, about my clusties, that's client turned besties, is that they're generally in two buckets. One bucket is your body is your business. And that may not have been the case for most of their lives. So they're living under a lot of social conditioning. So as a mom, as a wife, as a daughter, as a partner, as a sister, as a whatever, I need to take care of everybody before I take care of myself. And it's exactly like what you were talking about, your folks, because there's no role model. Their mother did it, their grandmother did it, their great grandmother did it.
Oh God, yeah.
Right? It's reflected on and so much in our society, subtly and not so subtly on social media. There's a new thing trending because I spent the morning in bed scrolling myself in full transparency. But there's this new trend. I don't know if you've heard about it. It's called like traditional, I think they're calling it trad for short, wife. And it's these women who are like all dressed up and like cooking. I'm not saying, listen, I'm not trying to like trash talk them. Like if that's what you want to do and you've chosen that for yourself, great. I'm really happy for you. But my folks have not chosen that for themselves.
Okay.
Right. So that's one bucket. And then they sort of they're sort of, their obstacles are the belief that there's, you know, no role model to look to, the how, right? And like you coach too, it can be really simple. It doesn't,
100%.
right? It doesn't have to be complicated. What we put into our bodies can be very simple. And what
Mm,
you coach, which I love too, and this is where we overlap too, is it's not about skimping on the latte. We're not doing that. It's not
not even
about,
close.
right? It's not about like I'm gonna deprive myself. No, we're not doing that because we know what's the other end of like skipping the latte and deprivation. It's binge
Hmm.
eating, binge spending,
Hmm.
and you're still in the pattern,
Yeah, you're left with zero at the end.
right? No
However
result,
you look at it, right?
like what
Always.
we've talked about, right?
Hmm.
So that's the one, so that's the one bucket. Your business is your body, and maybe it hasn't been their business. It's been everybody else's business.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
And then the other bucket is, and I'm playing around with this. I mean, you've heard me talk about this, but your business is your body of work. So these folks want to grow their business authentically in an aligned way, but they're seeing the Chads and the who are the other Britneys, right? That are doing
I don't even know what name I used.
what? Yeah, I think you used another name, which was also funny. But they're looking at the Chads and the Britneys who have the funnels and the things that are really complicated,
Hmm.
and they're carrying their backpacks, and it's not their backpacks. And they're like, why I'm hiking up this mountain or I'm walking this path that's not mine. Why is it not working?
Yeah.
Right. And they don't realize that the answers, the resources, the mindset, the belief, all the things are inside their body. And they're not building a body of work, they're building someone else's body of work, which feels really misaligned. And so, like we talk about, there's no results.
Right. Right.
So those are my folks.
I really want to like touch on this concept of um because it's tough to find a role model in our spaces. And we've talked about this before, how we don't find a lot of people that look like us, that people who look like us can in turn follow, but also a role model, like even in the home, right? So, you know,
Mhm.
I didn't learn about the complexity that the financial industry sets up from, and how to simplify it from my parents. I learned, they learned how to save, and I learned, as a result, okay, maybe that's what I should do. But they went to one extreme. Like there wasn't a lot of fun for them. It was more saving for them for a rainy day. And so the enjoyment that is associated with money really wasn't modeled, right?
Right.
And and then the ability to make your money work for you wasn't modeled either, because savings doesn't really make your money work for you. It just stashes it away in a fear-based way so that
Right.
it's there in case you need it, right?
Right.
And so, I think it's so important to have role models who can demonstrate what this looks like in our niches, right? Like how it can look for you to make money, save money, invest money, enjoy money, be benevolent with your money,
Mhm.
and just, not have to follow the traditional way of doing things. Um,
Right.
and that is so key to spread that information and that reality. So I love this notion of role models because I I really had to seek out like other role models. And now at this stage, it's so rewarding for me too, especially because I can look to a 20-year-old, a 30-year-old and be like, hey, this is what you can do. It's not going to look like my path. And it's not going to look like my parents' path,
Right.
but this is what it's going to look like in today's current environment that could lead you to do what you want to do without this fear-based approach to money, but also not this complicated bullshit that is set up to keep you out of, that realm and that part of life. It is designed so that you don't get in. Because let's be honest, if everybody figures out that, hey, if I invested $10,000 in the S&P 500 in last year in January 2023, I would have like almost 12,000 plus this year. Well, that would be problematic for our economy, right? And so
Right.
they don't want everybody to understand it. They don't
Right.
want everybody to get it, right? And
Yep.
if everybody who gets it looks different, doesn't look like you, doesn't speak your financial language, doesn't explain it for you, and doesn't
Right.
look like you, it's hard for you to believe. Remember the first obstacle I said, it's hard for you to believe that
Yep.
this is for you as well.
Totally.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I love that you touched on role models. I love that you did that because you're not only exemplifying how you can run your business that's in alignment with you, but also it's like, hey, not everybody looks like this guy or this girl. And you can look like you, right? For our clients and be successful,
Yeah, totally.
get results.
I love that too. Like, what you're saying. And, something that I learned, and I think it's what you're saying too, along the way when I was speaking, when I was speaking on happiness around the world, I was constantly looking for role models who looked like me. And I couldn't find them. Certainly not on the tech stages, like big tech stages of like Microsoft. It was like all white dudes, Chads. And then one day, this woman came up to me and she was like clutching my first book. And this was this like Korean American woman. And she was like, I've never seen anybody like you talk about what you're talking about and write an entire book about it. And that was a moment that I realized that, oh shit, I am and can be a mentor for others, right? When you're constantly looking for someone else, right? You forget the brain is going to brain of, like what you're saying about like helping the 20s and the 30s, right? Folks that we sort of forget, like, or our brain tells us weird shit, like, and what we coach our clients around the belief work,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, hey, wait a second. Um, there are folks who are, yeah, we don't look like everybody else in our industries. We're certainly, anomalies in that sense. And yet here we are. And yet, you know, there are people out there, we don't know, maybe they have not contacted us, or maybe they're just like voyeurs. And that is possible too, right? So when you're talking about stepping into, right, working with you or working with me, getting that support, getting that help, moving forward, what you're actually doing is not only changing the trajectory of your life, but you're changing the
Mm.
trajectory of everyone else who is also looking at you as the mentor, which is so freaking powerful. And that is making the huge seismic shifts for
A
folks,
hundred
other folks.
percent. Yeah. Yeah. You don't even realize it while you're doing it, your head's down and you're, working with your clients. But
Yeah.
there's such a tremendous ripple effect. Um,
Right.
that it's wild. It's wild. And you know, it's, you don't have to per se find the individual who
Right.
looks exactly like you,
Right.
who
Yeah.
grew up like you, who came from the same state, town, city, whatever that you
Right.
came from. No, because obviously I did not follow folks because they didn't exist, you know, at the time that I
Yeah.
was learning, they didn't exist. So,
I get it.
but
Totally.
yeah, you don't have to. But I will tell you that when you find someone that you can relate to, who gets you, who understands you,
Hmm.
who can speak into you, like all of the things that you're trying to accomplish, and they get what it means to do it from your position,
Right.
it makes the road that much simpler.
Yep. And as we always say, a complicated brain says no. So when shit's
Always
right, when shit's really simple,
shut
right?
down.
Yeah. When you're,
You shut the
but
fuck down.
yeah, when it, yeah, when it's not simple, we shut down, right? But when it's
Mm,
simple, like, there's a clear path, there's a clear trajectory, right? There's a clear um movement forward, right? Your brain is going to say yes.
absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why it's so rewarding, whether the person's like 26 or 56, or even some of my clients who are in their 70s, it's
Yeah.
still rewarding
Yep.
because nobody ever says, at least not to my knowledge, nobody ever says, oh, I wish I waited until I figured out my money shit and
Right.
started investing later. Don't know about that. Nobody
Right.
says that. They all wish they had gotten this information, this knowledge, this education sooner.
Yep.
And although they will work through on the belief, at least, because they're not going to get the belief like that. They're not going to get the belief right away. But at least they'll have a plan, a strategy that's in alignment with who they are. And
Yep.
the belief will catch up, you know, to, in my case, with my clients, it'll catch up to those dollar signs. It will. But
Right.
right now, when they're like, I don't know if this is going to happen, it's like, okay, well, follow these steps,
Mm-hmm.
do these things, take action. And
Mm-hmm.
once they do that and it's in alignment, the belief will come. There's no question about it. There's
Yep.
no question about it. And that's why I think with your folks, once they really understand about their business is their body, and their body and their business is their body of work, and their body is their business. And when those two come into alignment, and they're able to take the proper steps. The steps aren't following that person, this person, or that person. It's
Right.
actually what is simple and comes almost naturally to them
Right.
because it is them.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly. And
that's
it's
it.
exactly, that's it. You
Right?
don't, that's it. We don't have to say anything else. Like that's essentially stepping into your authenticity. That's what it is. And
100%.
everything else falls away, falls into place, makes sense, is simple, gets to be simple. Yeah, so good. Should we do a one word takeaway?
Ooh, ooh. Well, mine said a one word.
That's fine.
Always making it difficult. Did you just talk about it being simple? And I'm
I
like, nope,
never
I'm going to
have
pick
one
70.
word
I'm going to
either.
do 75 words. Okay. No.
Yeah, did it.
Right. No. I think the takeaway for me, for folks today from this, is 40 is the new 65.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. So good. Yeah. I think for me too, like I don't have a one word, but I just hearing you say it back just now, I think like speaking of the body, like something just was, it was so cool to hear it back. So I'm just going to play it back for folks. Your body is your business and your business is your body of work. There's something there.
There's a lot there. There's a lot there. Yeah. And it really ties into the simplicity, because when you are fighting your body, when you are fighting to make your body of work look like someone else's, It ain't simple. That's not simple. That is so difficult. Everything's difficult. Everything you do feels difficult. You can't put it out. You can't put out your work. You can't talk to people about it. It just, there's so much strife.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Yeah.
So,
And
yeah, that's so true. This is so good. But yeah, what you're
it's so
saying
good.
is so good. It's so good.
Yeah. Likewise. We could probably talk forever, as
As
always,
usual. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
well, it was good you weren't interrupted.
Well, slightly, and it's hotter than Hades here, but I'm gonna melt. I'm sure it feels cooler inside, but I'm waiting for the AC repair guy to come because, of course, like I said, it had to happen the week that I'm here, and the heat wave. So
Of course.
slight irritability again, folks. Sorry.
Sprinkling, sprinkling of irritability thrown in there
Exactly.
with lots of Shannon wisdom. Shannonisms.
Now the loudest truck in the. I can't. I'm done. All right. Who picks up recycling? What time is it? 4:15. Where am I? Is this that you decide? Listen to this. You decide at the height of rush hour. One of like rush hour started like this. This is the time to come out and pick up the recycling. I can't. I can't. It's a joke.
You're
Anyway, that's the irritability. So
you
here you go.
stay cool.
Mm,
Take care of your body.
I will.
Very
I
important.
will. All right, my love.
All
Thank you
right, my
so
love.
much. We will be back next week. I think it's important for people to let us know if there's something, a topic they want us to cover. I think, if you have any comments about this episode, please leave the comments below. Give us a thumbs up if you liked it. Don't say anything if you didn't. Just joking. Give us a thumbs up if you liked it. And by all means, definitely subscribe because we would love for you to stick around. All right.